Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out the KingKong Flytower, and this is the 2-layer version. It comes with an F4 flight controller plus a 20 amp 4-in-1 ESC. And what I found was interesting about this is that this is actually the same components that are in the GEPRC Flytower, or the Stable F4 Flytower, and that's the one that I did a review on already, and I put that into the Catalyst MachineWorks massive droner here, and you already know what those look like. What someone told me was that actually the 3 boards in here are the exact same boards that are in the KingKong Flytower. And I thought that was pretty interesting because if you happen to damage any of the boards in the GEPRC stack here, you can use the KingKong boards to replace those parts to repair your stack and get flying again, because GEPRC only sells this as a 3-board stack. You can get either the 20 amp version or the 12 amp version, but they don't sell the individual boards separately, which is kind of annoying. But if you happen to crash and break any one of these, you can just get the KingKong parts because they're exactly the same. So I can just, give me a quick little peek at what these look like, and you can look at my video on the GEPRC and compare for yourself, and you'll see that the parts are exactly the same. Now the silk screening and the labeling, the branding is different. So apparently KingKong and GEPRC are using the same OEM factory to produce these parts. Now there's a few minor differences between the two. They mainly have to do with the mounting hardware, and there's some of these like little rubber grommets here. I think that's for soft mounting, and there's some O-rings. The GEPRC uses nylon standoffs, I believe, that kind of screw down, whereas the KingKong stack uses these little metal aluminum spacers that don't screw down. There's like holes and pass through the long screw here. And I believe there's a little bit shorter screw here because this is the 2-layer version, whereas over here on the GEPRC one, it's a long screw, and it's to accommodate the 3rd board. So if you happen to buy the 2-layer version instead of the 3-stack version, you might have to buy the new hardware pack with the longer screws perhaps. So I'm going to be looking into that. I'm going to be installing this into the Tomaquad Hayabusa, which it only actually needs because it's so low profile. The reason I chose this one is I can only put 2 boards in anyway. And then speaking of that issue, I was looking at the flight controller, and I realized that the 3rd board, the video transmitter that goes with this, would plug into this plug right here. And I was like, well, how do I get a video transmitter to attach to the flight controller? And I realized that they do provide you some solder pads right at the bottom here. That S is for video, and you have 5 volts on ground. If you have a video transmitter that requires VBAT power, then you'll have to probably connect that directly to the ESC area or the battery lead, so you get power for your video transmitter. If you have a video transmitter that requires, like, say, 7 to 28 volts, but if you have a micro video transmitter that requires 5 volts, you can just plug that in or solder that directly to the board here on the flight controller. And just like on the GEPRC stack, they do provide you the same wiring looms for the little connectors here, little micro connectors for your camera, your LED buzzer connection, and then also for your receiver. And then those correspond to the little micro connectors here on the board. I believe this one here is for the camera, this one down here is for your receiver, and then this one back here is going to be for your LED buzzer. There are, let's see, like in the back here, there are some additional solder connections here, very tiny. If you want to connect your video in or camera to that instead of using the camera connection here, that's possible. You can look at the diagrams on the documentation. I'll show what those are. Also, you can test it with a multimeter. You'll find that those will correspond to some of the camera connections. Also, this video video in connection here, video out connection to the video transmitter here is also corresponding to this pad over here. This says video, and that also corresponds to one of the socket connections here on this little socket connector, and then also one of these is audio. You can test all those with a multimeter to determine which ones are which, but if you have audio, then that's the one place you can connect to. And one other thing that I noticed with the solder pads over here that aren't labeled, and there's no documentation what those are. I believe that might be an additional UART, possibly UART 6. I'm not 100% sure, and I didn't really have a chance to confirm that. But if anyone knows, let me know in the comments below. If that's the case, that's what I'm suspected. It's probably one of the UARTs that's not broken out in terms of one of these little connectors here. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'll stick this into the Hayabusa, and we'll see what it looks like with the different mounting hardware. And then you'll see that that's a little different from the GEPRC three board stack. But just to give you an idea of what it looks like when it's installed, go ahead and install it right now. Okay, so here's what it looks like put together. Pretty simple. The two stack combo here comes with a M2 18mm silver screw here. It goes all the way through, and then you use this little rubber grommet here on the bottom that provides space between the bottom plate and the ESC. And then you just basically stick a screw in. You put the rubber grommet on that holds the screw on. Put you 4 of those to put the ESC on, and then these little metal aluminum spacers just slide on, they don't screw on. Then you connect the board here, the flight controller, to the ESC with the pins, and then use the O-rings on top of the flight controller between the nut and the board. And this whole thing is very nicely soft mounted. You can see it actually wiggles around. I didn't quite tighten this down all the way, but you can tighten it a little bit more. But yeah, the whole point of this mounting system is more soft mounting. You can see it definitely wiggles around, and I think that's actually a pretty good thing. Should help with vibrations if there are any, and minimize those. So kind of like the way this is mounted on the KingKong setup. On the GEPRC setup here, they use more like the HGLRC method, where they use these nylon standoffs here that actually screw down onto the long screw here. And if you do get the 3-board system on the KingKong system, you do get the longer 25mm screw to accommodate the video transmitter board. So keep that in mind. So if you happen to get the 2-board system and you want a 3rd board on like another 20 by 20 board, like a different brand, you're going to need an M2 by 25 screw. Plus you're going to need these extra standoffs here. So they do sell the little mounting kit separately as well if you need the longer one, so you have to buy that separately. In fact, all of these parts are sold separately. You can buy the ESC separately, the flight controller, the video transmitter, all the mounting hardware separately, as well as all of the wiring looms if you lose or have to break any of these. So I will put the complete list of all of the parts for the system in the description below, and if you happen to get the GEPRC system and need to replace parts, you can get any of those from the KingKong system. They're basically the same parts. Okay, so I just wanted to show you what this looks like with the top plate on. You can see how much space you have. These standoffs here are 20mm, so you have plenty of room for, I guess you could put a receiver on top of your flight controller there, or maybe a small, like maybe a VTX03, something like that. You could definitely fit in there, and battery straps will fit no problem. There's plenty of space between that top board and the flight controller, and the main top plate. So yeah, I really like the way this looks. Looks like it's gonna look like a pretty clean build. Anyway, if you're interested in this build, I'll have that coming up pretty soon, so you can check that out and put a card in the corner for that one. Anyway, so yeah, that's the end of this video for looking at the KingKong Flytower system. I actually like the way this is coming out. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.